Hey everybody, it's Jim Johnson here, the head coach at Contractor Coach Pro and your host of Contractor Radio, coming to you from a little bit of a different setup today. I've been out of town, been traveling, just got back from a large event and conference, and I've got a really cool guest for you guys today. This guy has been around some of the most influential people, not in just our space, but in the world, on the planet. And he's helped them develop a lot of what they've done. I was fortunate enough to be on his podcast, and I cannot wait to introduce him to you guys. We're going to be talking a little bit today about how to scale your business and what it takes to be an entrepreneur. This guy has extensive experience in that. But before we do, we're going to take just a second for one of our sponsors and come right back for our special guest. I'm not going to give you his name. I thought I was, but then I said, I pulled it back. So just a couple of seconds from one of our sponsors. We'll get those bills paid, and I'm excited to bring him to you.
You're not using HillTrace, it's definitely worth the money. That money invested was, one sale was already bought. We've got from denied or declined to actually being bought just because of HillTrace and the storm reports that they give us.
Not only do I know where the storm's at, sometimes as they're happening, and I can already head right there to the storm, but also after the fact, when I'm out knocking on doors, I can show homeowners the map and what kind of hail was in their area.
We've seen a huge return on our investment, and I have no doubt that you will too.
All right, everybody, here we are. We're back at Contractor Radio, the place where we give you guys education for strategy. We also try to be a little bit entertaining, a lot of tactics that we talk about. We're here to help you grow and expand your business and really get control of your business so you can grow your business and you can find that personal and financial freedom we're all chasing whenever we start a business. And today we have a guy that is exceptional at doing that. He has done this with multiple organizations. He is now doing it on his own with some software that he's doing. And I was excited to get him on after being on his show. Mitch Russo, you rock star, welcome to the show. Good to have you on board. How are things with you?
Fantastic, Jim. It's been a long time, but I'm glad we're back together.
Yeah, absolutely. We met through a mutual acquaintance. And you mentioned you had a podcast. And I was like, hey, yeah, sure, I'll be on your podcast. I got your book called Power Tribes. He's an author too, which is super cool. Power Tribes and the Invisible Organization. He's also been integral in the success of folks like Tony Robbins, Chet Holmes, Kevin Harrington, working on programs with those guys. And if you guys don't know who those guys are, you're living in a hermit pit somewhere, maybe in a cave, but I think most of us have heard of at least Tony Robbins. Kevin Harrington was on Shark Tank, and Chet Holmes, literally like one of the fathers of the coaching and training aspect of things. So, author of 2 books. Why did you write the books?
Well, the short answer is because when I built the Results Breakthrough International organization with Tony and Chet, you probably know that Chet had passed away. He died of leukemia. And so we had innovated for 5 years in creating a completely virtual company that spanned 300 different people in 8 countries. And so what we had accomplished had not at the time been accomplished many times before. And so I was encouraged to share what I know. And that was my first foray into being an author, was to write the book called The Invisible Organization. And it was a hard write. I got to tell you, it took a long time to get that book out. And when it was released, I was very happy with it. It received many 5-star reviews, and people seemed to like it. And I got some calls from clients who wanted me to help them, basically help them transform their physical organization into a virtual one.
Yeah, and so I met you through the whole Power Tribes thing.
Right.
The certification type programs for coaches and stuff like that. And I read your book, helped me a lot. We're actually working on some of those things. We actually have an event coming up June 28th and 29th, where we're going to bring in a bunch of salespeople. We're going to put them through, for lack of a better term, an intense boot camp with some certification at the end. And there's different rankings. Like, you score better, you get to actually be top rep. And if you're part of the top 10%, you're a top rep ace. And so we've applied some of those practical tactics that I learned from you. But you've worked with some of the highest, most known people at doing this type of thing. And we're talking with a bunch of contractors here, the home services guys. They're like, why are these two guys talking? And how does that help me? Right. And so I think there's a couple of topics that I really want to get into. I want to get into this idea of an invisible organization.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that's changing with the consumer. I also want to get into this idea of the buying process and how that might apply in the home services world. Okay. And then third, and not last for sure, is what have you noticed with all of these great entrepreneurs that you've worked with? What have you noticed that's similar about them? And then what may have made one of them unique and why they were so successful? So let's start with the last question first. And we can talk about the big three: Tony, Chet, and Kevin. What did you notice that was similar between those three guys?
Well, successful people are able to implement and are able to focus. So everybody has ideas. Every single individual, every man, woman, and child has had an idea. So you might say that ideas are a dime a dozen. In fact, how many times have you either yourself or been with somebody who said, you see that thing on TV? I thought of that 10 years ago. And I knew I should have done something about it. Well, somebody did, and it wasn't you. So the bottom line is that they implemented and you didn't. But here's the cool part. They probably didn't get it right the first time. So that's why I think focus is so valuable. And it's a common trait among all of the superstars that I've worked with. So what does focus mean? It really means understanding what the end goal is and working towards that, even if you stumble along the way. Now, the typical analogy is the plane that's flying from coast to coast. They say that plane is off course 89 or 96% of the time it's flying because it's constantly making course corrections. Well, entrepreneurs who don't make course corrections will crash. There's just no doubt about it. However, those who do will get to the final destination, knowing that course corrections are just part of the game. And we call that, in the entrepreneurial world, we call that pivoting. So if you head down one path and it's not working, some people, people who are not focused, who are really not able to double down and get really to work, will quit. And those people have failed. And they only fail because they quit. The ones who pivot don't fail because they didn't quit and they keep searching for the solution to find their way to where they want to go. That's the common factor among all of them.
So what made them unique?
Well, everybody has their own style. Everybody has something that they feel passionate about and that they zero in on for the way that they like to do business. So clearly for Tony, it was really all about how you saw yourself. So Tony was a guy who was looking at you to see if you believe in yourself enough to invest in you or to help you on your journey. And if you didn't, and if you didn't, that means that in fact something about you will not allow you to be successful. Now, at the same time, he works with people on that problem as well. But if he wants to partner with you, he's probably going to pass because he's looking for that trait. Chet, on the other hand, is like me. He's very much a systems-oriented guy. And so if he looks at your company, and he's going to see, have you figured out how to systemize your success process? And if you haven't, well, he might offer to help you, but at the same time, he wouldn't partner with you until you did. That's the big thing. And then when you take a guy like Kevin Harrington, now Kevin and I have been friends for a long time. We were in business together briefly for about 6 months. And the thing that Kevin looks at is potential. So what is the potential of this? And how can I use this to grow something 10 or 100x? That's Kevin's mentality. And yet they all have the same focus. They all have the same ability to pivot, but each one of them has a different way of looking at the situation.
That's pretty awesome. Like not only that you were able to work with those folks, but they're able to recognize it. And I think that's a common theme with really successful people, is this ability to focus. In all honesty, it's a thing I struggle with. I like you said, ideas are a dime a dozen. Man, I got ideas. I got all kinds of ideas. I wish I could do them all because I think they're all going to be great. And there's a lot of that part in me that I have to be very mindful of. Self-awareness on my own part that, hey, that's great. You got all these ideas. What's the one you're going to chase? And so this idea of helping contractors get better at what they do in an effort to see there's a stat for contractors. 70 to 80% of contractors go out of business in the first 3 years. And I'm just sick and tired of watching it. So I'm totally focused on eliminating that stat. I want to see it go away. Really and truthfully, I want to see it be less than 10%. You can't help everybody, but I want to help the vast majority. So we're uber focused on that. But even that, and I kind of wonder about this with those guys, in what way, right? So you can coach them one-on-one, you can group coach them, you can do sales events and marketing events and all these other things. You can start to spread out too wide. Did you see any of that with those guys at all? Like getting too wide or not narrow enough in their focus?
Well, I think it's tempting always to start to either brand extend or diversify, and usually it's not clearly thought through. There's no planning in place. And that, by the way, if you're having trouble with that, you get a coach. I mean, that's the whole point of this. A coach is going to ask you the questions that you don't know to ask yourself. And from my perspective, I followed an American philosopher when I started my software company many years ago. And he's a name that you all know. He's a very, very famous person. And his philosophy has really made me successful all throughout my life. And I'll tell you who it is and what he said. And it's only 4 words, but this philosophy has withstood the test of time. And you'll see what I mean when I explain it. So his name, his famous 4 words are, "We do chicken right." And his name is Colonel Sanders. Now, Jim, I know you've heard of Colonel Sanders, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you know that when he said "we do chicken right," what he's really saying is, we don't do hot dogs, we don't do hamburgers, we don't do pizza, we do chicken right. So what's he really saying? He's really saying, I focus on chicken, and I focus on making the best chicken I could possibly make. Well, imagine if we had Colonel Sanders coaching us in our business. Yes, we probably get better lunch quality than we have today normally, but what he would say is, why are you doing that? Why don't you go back to making your chicken? That's what you do right. Why are you doing that? Why are you branching out? Why are you spending time and focus on something other than your core gift, your core business?
We run into that all the time. You have a contractor, he's really good at something, and then he wants to say, hey, I want to go do this thing. And then you have to ask yourself, is this thing anything like that thing you're already doing? Now, if it's very similar process, very similar everything, it makes some sense, right?
Yes.
For example, I believe that at Kentucky Fried Chicken, they have chicken sandwiches. They don't just have, like, he started out with original recipe. He did that very, very well. Perfect. Like, it's, to me, best fast food chicken on the planet, always will be. But then he went, hey, got this extra crispy thing. And we can also do this chicken sandwich. It was all that core around that chicken, same process, same delivery, same mechanism. And so I watch contractors, and are they getting outside of what it is that they're actually great at?
Right.
And are they taking on too much of it? And I usually will be pretty much down to like, do three things. And those three things have to be the exact same process.
Yep.
You might be roofing, siding, and gutters. Those are very similar. You go in, you meet a homeowner, take measurements, do orders, deliver, right? And it gets done, they sign off, and they pay you. But if you throw windows into the mix, that's a whole different animal. You got many more steps, a lot more ordering, a lot more risk involved. It's just a different thing. And some can pull it off, some not so hot. But boy, if you just said, man, I do roofing better than anybody on the planet, you would probably do pretty well. And if you notice, the biggest companies that do that kind of stuff are usually very focused on that one thing.
Yep.
So one of the things I've noticed in our industry is that technology has introduced itself a little bit. And I have this strong belief that the average homeowner out there nowadays would rather me not be in their home than me be in their home trying to sell them whatever it is that we're selling. And that doesn't mean that door-to-door is dead or marketing is dead or any of that kind of stuff, or even in-home sales is dead. But I think the homeowner wants to follow a bit of a different process than what I'm currently doing nowadays. And would you agree with any of that assessment? Like, I would rather like go to Amazon than have you come in my house and try and sell me something?
I would. But would you mind if I rolled back a minute? I wanted to
Sure.
make a comment about something you said before. So let's say you are a contractor and you do gutters and roofing, and you said one other thing.
Siding, yeah.
Siding. And then they said, well, what about our windows? And then you have this bright idea, well, sure, I can install windows, and that's where you fall down. But imagine this. Imagine if you built a relationship with a window guy. Imagine if you built a relationship with a decking guy. Imagine if you built a relationship with a floor and carpet guy. And then every time one of those folks asked you about, do you do windows? You say, you know what? We have the best window guy in the business associated with our company, and I could send him over to give you a quote. And of course, what you're earning is an affiliate commission on the work that they did. So now you have no overhead, pure cash, pure profits, and you don't have to even learn or worry about the allocation of your personnel and equipment to do something you really don't know how to do. I just wanted to make that point.
Oh, that's a great point. We actually coach that. One of the things is in home services industry, you have this belief in canvassing, door knocking, going door to door, right? But when you go door to door for the 2 or 3 things that you do, your hit rate is pretty low, right? But if you went to door and instead of saying, hey, we do roofing, siding, and gutters, let me look at your roof, siding, and gutters, and you said, hey, we are home exterior experts, and we'll do a full house inspection, and you do this inspection, and maybe it's not the roof, siding, and gutters that there's a problem with, but their windows have a problem. Right. You now have this very valuable thing called a lead, and that lead can be purchased by other people. And so we've had contractors that we've coached in building those type of programs. Man, they are awesome. They're great. They get great reputation from the people they align themselves with. And like you said, it's just straight up cash.
Yeah, exactly.
And they made better use of their time while they were out there in the field.
Well, I had a client once. He was a carpet cleaning company, and he had a bunch of trucks, and his biggest problem was that somebody would call him and spend all this money to get a lead. Someone would call him, and he would go out there and clean their carpets, and then at that point, he basically went on to continue servicing his clients, but he would rarely call them back and say, hey, we cleaned your carpet 6 months ago. Do you want to get your carpets cleaned again? The other thing that he really, didn't notice was the fact that most people were just simply looking for the best price. So if they hired Bob on one day and Jane on another day to clean their carpets, as far as the customer is concerned, cleaning carpets are the commodity. Price is a factor. But what would happen, and this is what we coached them to do, what would happen if you were able to sell the gold plan? where you don't even have to ask. We just come in and clean your carpets every 90 days, every 120 days, and you get a big discount because we don't have to repeat the process of having to find someone new to sell to, which is expensive. Well, we went from a small company of about, I think it was 12 trucks to over 50 trucks in 18 months. But here's the other part that was cool about this. We also built the referral network I was just sharing for all the other services that people need in their homes. And now the company's profits exploded. So, so it's really important to stay focused on what you do and get others who are focused on what they do to work with you and make money from that, as you say, selling that lead or that referral.
Yeah, a lot of contractors don't really look at their business as like an affiliate program type business or a recurring service type business. Mm-hmm. For example, if you sell roof or siding or windows for that matter, I mean, it's years before you do anything like that again for that person. Right. But could they be a part of a roof maintenance program? And once a year you come out and make sure everything's tidy so the roof lasts longer. Could they be a part of an exterior maintenance program? There's all kinds of ways to create that dynamic where you have this recurring business that's highly profitable, margins are really high, and you keep them in your, I think as you like to call it, tribe. It would be in my community, right? Like I keep them in my community. I want them in my world. That's awesome stuff. That was really good. I didn't think that we were going to go there, but that was pretty great.
Cool.
So let's talk about this invisible organization thought process of things.
Sure.
I see contractors kind of dabbling at it right now. The pandemic really brought it up. Like we kind of knew the technology was out there and that kind of thing, but pandemic hits and well, you want to talk about changing the dynamic of what you do as a contractor, going inside of somebody's house, sitting down at their kitchen table, going over a bunch of options with them. That wasn't really an option anymore. But the other thing you noticed is that home repair and maintenance, additions, renovations, that kind of stuff picked up because people were now home and they realized, man, I need a nicer, cleaner space because I'm going to be home all the time. And I need to rearrange some of my space. And so there was a dichotomy there that people wanted it, but only a very few contractors took advantage of it. They were able to pivot, like you said, really quickly and start to use and leverage technology, whether it was a Zoom meeting to go over options, PDF deliveries, CRM softwares, some photography apps. Like one of the great apps out there in our world is called Company Cam. And I can go to your house. You don't have to have any kind of interaction with me at all. I can send you a link and I can send you all the pictures I'm taking as I'm looking at your house. And you can literally sit on your couch and just watch them come in. Mm-hmm. And so there was this cool aspect of technology that you could bring into the equation. And so now you can see contractors starting to go, wow, that was actually pretty cool. I didn't have to go to that person's house and they sent me money, which is neat. All I had to do was go install it. So, but things have opened back up now. And I see people, a vast majority, reverting back to, hey, go to the house, the whole deal. But I do see a small group going, hey, you know what? I could sell a roof kind of anywhere, or I could put siding on anywhere. As long as I create those relationships with the right people, kind of like you were talking about with the affiliate programs, I build those relationships with the right people in the right places. All it then becomes for me is this marketing and sales machine, which is what a lot of them are really good at. But translating it to the online world, right? Like sitting at somebody's table has a whole different feel than being on video like I am with you. You could literally go, this guy interviewing me is a complete idiot, and I'm done with him. Click a button and you're done, right? But if I'm sitting with you and we're sitting together, very rarely would you get up and walk away, right?
Right.
What is it that would make that transition actually work? What do you think people are really looking for?
Well, the part that the only time I frankly really want to meet you is when I'm about to give you money, right? I mean, to have you do like a walkthrough and all that, that's fine. I understand. But I don't, I'm tolerating that, right? Because, you're in my house and, or you're, I'm showing you something and the kids are screaming or whatever. The point I'm making though is that when you start dealing with physical live situations, the goal would be to minimize the one-to-one direct contact time, but substitute it with technology. So let's have a Zoom meeting and let's discuss what it is that you're looking for first. Let's say, I'm just going to use this as an example. Let's say you're a roofer, and let's say you're in North Carolina, but your client is in Ohio, and because you attracted them using national advertising. So now what I do is I call my nationwide service organization and say, can you please go over and put a drone up on Mr. McGillicuddy's house so I could see the roof and videotape that and send it over to me? And they say, yes, sir, we'll have it done for you in the next 24 hours. And they go off and hire some kid with a drone who goes up and photographs the whole roof for you. Or they have a network of people with drones who do this professionally. And now you go back on Zoom with that person, say, well, look, we've had a chance to examine your roof. And, this is kind of what we're seeing here. And you're a good candidate for a roof replacement. And this is partially, this is what we could do. This is what you could do. Or you could do a quick patch to fix the leaky part. But given the age of your roof and the condition of the asphalt, it's going to leak again soon. So if you like, we can work it out so you can get a brand new roof in the next 45 days. And if they say yes, at that point, so okay, good. So what we're going to do is, and by the way, you don't even need the live meeting if you just followed my little script here. So what we're going to do is we're going to be setting up with our local affiliates so that they're going to come in and they're going to do the work. We guarantee it. So your contact will always be me. So all I need you to do at this point is ask any questions you might have. And if we agree at the end of the call that it's something you want to do, I'll give you a click to sign contract and give me a credit card, and we can set up a time to do your roofing by next Monday. How's that sound, Mr. Client?
Yeah, and that's great. Number one, first off, that you're going to save a crap ton of time because you're doing it virtually. They hadn't even gotten to you probably without already doing a bunch of research.
That's right.
They've looked at your reviews. They've gone to your website.
Yep.
They've got some social acceptance from the referrals that you have on your website and videos and stuff like that. They've seen your people. And I think you have a way of positioning it that is amazing.
Yep.
Because you have this dynamic, and this isn't just roofer. It could be any home services contractor. The stat is 70-80% of them go out of business the first 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a national organization that's working with an affiliate partner in this city, wherever it may be, and that guy isn't there in 2 years or 3 years when you do have a problem, but you can always call this national organization, know that you're going to be serviced. We guarantee it. You feel more comfort. You feel like, okay, I trust this a little more than I might trust that guy in the pickup there that I don't know where his office even is, right? And so I think it's all about positioning what it is that you're doing. It's about a lot of pre-sales. There's a lot of pre-sales and qualifying going on to the point of, we think about it like market size, right? You got a market that you work in, whatever city it is. Let's say we'll just pick a city. Where are you at, Mitch?
I'm in Pompano Beach, Florida.
Pompano Beach, Florida. Decent sized market, probably supports, a good 20 roofers in the area.
Sure.
And those guys are going to get the majority of the business.
Yep.
But I only want, 5 or 10 jobs in Pompano Beach.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want 5 or 10 jobs in Fort Myers. And I want 5 or 10 jobs in Jupiter Island. I want 5 or 10 jobs in Orlando. I want 5 or 10 jobs in Seattle. I want 5 or 10 jobs. And it goes on and on and on. And if you just grab those 5 or 10 jobs in all those different cities, your actual volume can be much higher than the guy in the local market.
Absolutely. Yeah, because look, we all have a profit margin. So we charge $1,000 times X for something. A certain amount of that is overhead, labor, materials, and then there's a percentage left over, and that's profit. Well, what happens if you could skip all of the overhead and just make the profit? Well,
I like the sound of that.
right? That's what affiliates are. I mean, that's basically the same idea. I mean, most people are not, I don't know many companies in general that are 20% profitable or 15% even profitable, but yet there are affiliate programs that pay that and more just for hooking them up with the right client. So now in your case, if you start certifying people and then part of that certification is a guarantee that the work will be done properly and you will stand behind it for many years to come, that your price can now be higher than others because you bring a higher level of service to the table than others do as well.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, I love the whole thought process of that. I think there's some obstacles and hurdles. Just being able to, that at the table experience is different. I mean, I can get your senses involved, but there's ways around all obstacles if you just think a little bit. I mean, you could send a packet to them and say, hey, whenever we have our meeting, you're going to have this packet. I want you to open it up, and you can do your demo that way. There's so many ways to do it. And I don't want to hold you too long, Mitch. I know that you're a busy guy. If you were going to give one piece of advice to an entrepreneur, what would it be?
Well, we talked about focus before, and I think that's super important. We talked a little bit about being able to withstand the ups and downs of business financially, so that's important as well. But the other thing, of course, is to have buy-in from the people around you. And what I mean by buy-in is, I don't think most people would come home one day and say, honey, quit my job. I'm going into the roller derby business. So just thought I'd let you know. I mean, that kind of what you call the kiss of death, particularly when you have no savings. And look, I'm desperate. I have no savings. I have no job. What do I do? I'll start a company. Well, fine. You're broke anyway. You're about to collapse. Well, might as well start a company. Well, that's a dumb idea. A better idea would be to get another job quickly, even at low pay, and start to build a plan to create a company and create some financial backing for yourself and your family as well. So my advice is be prepared to do something and be ready, just like the sign says right behind you. It's only when you stop trying that you truly fail. Well, that's great. Pivot and move on to the thing that works. You may start selling roofs and find out you have a whole lot more people interested in your gutter solution. Well, you could become the gutter company in your area and dominate that entire niche. Do it. Try it. That's my advice.
That's pretty awesome. I got a couple more questions for you, okay?
Sure.
Okay. I like to ask these questions, especially of strong personalities like you. To date, what would you say is your greatest achievement?
Well, that would have to be raising a child. In the world we live in today, my challenges were that I married an alcoholic, and she left the family at around when my daughter was 7. And so I had to take on the role of both mom and dad, and I shut my life down to focus on hers during that transition year. And today she's 26 years old. She has a great job, has a beautiful apartment that she lives on her own, which was always my goal, and she's a really happy kid. So that would be my greatest overall achievement, if you will. And I'm sure you mean business, but I thought I'd mention that first.
We do tend to go there whenever we think of our achievement, don't we? We tend to go to family,
Yep.
Whether it's meeting the wife, raising the children. And I usually give the caveat, like, let's skip that. Like, we all know that.
Sure.
But I think that was perfect for today. And the reason why I think it was perfect for today is, Mitch, happy Father's Day, man. Great job. Well done. That was pretty huge. And those of you hearing this at a different time, Father's Day was yesterday. So I think that was really good timing. Okay, so last question. We all only have so much time on this planet, right? I like to think that I'm trying to make the most of it every day, every moment that I'm awake. But there's going to come a time where that comes to an end, and we hope that at that time everybody comes to celebrate us. what would you like people to say about you when that time comes?
That's a great question. And you talk about legacy. And what it really comes down to is what all of us want to do, whether we say it or verbalize it or even know it. What we want to do is we want to help others. Everybody is in the business. Sure, we want to make a living, and some people desperately need to make a living. But ultimately, if you got the living part out of the way, what it really came down to would be how many people have I helped? How many lives have I enriched over the years that I've been on this planet? And for me, that would be the most important thing of all. Not what did I leave behind, because all that is basically going to turn to dust anyway. More importantly is how many souls have I elevated beyond where they would have been if they hadn't met me? That to me is my achievement.
It's really good. I think Zig Ziglar kind of had that same attitude about him. The more people he could help achieve their dream, then he would achieve his.
Yes.
And I love that concept. That's the idea of helping people. I don't think we get that that's really what we do. No matter what business it is that you're in, the ultimate end of that is you're helping somebody somewhere, whether it's another business, a consumer, an affiliate program. It doesn't really matter. And that's really the basis of it all. And if you can figure out that by helping your people will help your customer, I think that goes a long ways. But that's the ultimate goal, which I think is pretty interesting. I was reading today. I was reading a book called Irresistible by Andy Stanley. I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not, but it's about faith, right? And they asked Christ, "What's the two most important commandments?" And he said, "Love God, love your neighbor." And what was, I think, lost in the understanding of that this book made really clear for me today was when you said neighbor back in those days, your neighbor was your nationality or your race. So a neighbor to a Jewish person would be another Jewish person, right? But that's not what he meant. Your neighbor was everybody. And that's a pretty powerful thing. Like everybody out there, that's our job. That's our job to help them. So Mitch, man, high fives on those two answers. Those are right in line with me. Anything you'd like to leave the audience with today?
Well, really, I really hope that people who are involved in helping others, as you are as contractors, keep in mind that the job you just finished is the one that people see the most. So for everything that you do, put your best into it, put your most into it, and build a relationship, not just collect a bill at the end of the day.
Well, I would finish with, if you haven't read either one of Mitch's books, Invisible Organizations or Power Tribes, I would go get those books. I've read Power Tribes, really good. I have not read Invisible Organization yet, didn't know it existed until today, but I will be ordering that and reading that right away. And if some of the concepts that he's mentioned today kind of hit home with you and you might want to talk with them, how would they get a hold of you, Mitch?
They can go to mitchrusso.com, and it's easy to see what I do there and get a hold of me from there as well.
Awesome. Mitch, it's been fantastic having you today. I hope you enjoyed your time. It wasn't completely boring for you. So, you're on quite a few podcasts, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed the time today.
Very much so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll see you in the future.
You got it.
All right. All right, everybody. That was Mitch Russo. Mitch has helped so many people build these type of virtual organizations and certification programs, really scaling businesses in dramatic fashion. I've been fortunate enough to learn some of that from him. I hope to learn more as time goes on. I'm always consistently grabbing new knowledge and new information. And we should all be about that. The more knowledge we can gather, the more that we can pull out those golden nuggets that fit our belief system. Because that's really what it comes down to, is truly believing in what you're after. Because if you don't believe in it, you're not going to chase it. And so take that today. Take that today as like the thing is, do I believe in this thing that I'm after? Will I do what it takes to get it? Will I have that focus like Mitch spoke about with some of the more impressive entrepreneurs that he's worked with. And if you do, reach out to guys like Mitch or ourselves here at Contractor Coach Pro. We're here to help you. Well, here's one thing I know. People that have ran the path before can usually help you run that path faster. This whole idea of failing forward, while I like that idea better whenever I'm failing forward with trying new things. If somebody's followed the path already and has a blueprint for the path, get the information from them. You can do that with us at ContractorCoachPRO.com. And just go to our website. There's a button in there that says assessment. Take the assessment and we'll give you a free coaching call. It doesn't cost you anything. There won't be some big sales pitch. We're actually going to coach you. We're going to get from that assessment a lot of valuable information. We're going to help you in the areas where it seems like you could possibly improve your business. And if you like what we do and you like that coaching experience, you want to work with us, great. If you don't, we hope that you're at least left with something valuable that day that helps you with your business. Thank you guys for listening to us here on Contractor Radio. We enjoy this time once a week hanging out with you guys, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks a lot.
Want more 5-star reviews from your customers? At Signpost, we make it easy for your customers to give you great reviews on Google, Facebook, Yelp, and more. Our software connects with industry-specific solutions, driving even more reviews from your customers. Drive loyalty and repeat business by sending the right messages at the right times to your prospects and customers. Message your contacts from anywhere, anytime, using text, photos, and video all in one app. Check on progress with campaigns and review generation across Google, Facebook, and Yelp. Visit signpost.com and get your demo today.